As of March 6, 2025, the administration of President Donald Trump has imposed sweeping tariffs on imports from Canada, Mexico, and China, escalating tensions in global trade. The new measures consist of a 25% tariff on all goods imported from Mexico, a 25% tariff on Canadian products, with an additional 10% levy specifically targeting Canadian energy exports, and an increase in tariffs on Chinese goods from 10% to 20%. President Trump justified these decisions by citing concerns over national security and illegal activities, stating that illicit substances continue to enter the United States from Mexico and Canada at alarmingly high and unacceptable levels. In response, Canada has announced countermeasures. The Canadian federal government has implemented 25% tariffs on $100 billion worth of American goods, with plans for further escalations. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau declared via social media that the moment U.S. tariffs went into effect, so did Canada's retaliation. We are imposing 25% tariffs on $155 billion worth of American products, starting with $30 billion immediately, and the remaining $125 billion will follow within 21 days, Trudeau announced. The Prime Minister went on to accuse President Trump of aiming to cripple the Canadian economy to make an eventual annexation easier. He insisted that such a scenario would never materialize. Trump has, on multiple occasions, suggested that Canada should become the 51st state of the U.S., implying that tariffs could be lifted if this were the case. Trudeau conveyed to Canadians that he believes this to be the true motive behind Trump's aggressive tariff policy. Additionally, he dismissed Trump's claim that fentanyl is flooding across the border from Canada as entirely false. He also refuted Trump's assertion that American banks are barred from operating in Canada, stating that such a claim was baseless. Trudeau vowed that the consequences of these tariffs would soon be felt by American families and by Trump himself. Ontario, the most populous province in Canada, has initiated its own measures in retaliation. A 25% export tax will be applied to the electricity it supplies to 1.5 million households in Minnesota, Michigan, and New York. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has made it clear that if President Trump introduces further tariffs on April 2nd, he will instruct energy producers in the province to cease electricity exports entirely. Additionally, Ford intends to redirect power from a nuclear reactor to support Ontario-based manufacturers rather than supplying it to U.S. markets. In an interview with the Wall Street Journal, Ford warned that Trump is underestimating the determination of Canadians. He stated that if further tariffs are imposed, Ontario will begin stockpiling nickel, a commodity that is typically sold to the United States, and will shift its sales to alternative markets. The United States currently sources approximately half of its nickel supply from Canada, including purchases by the U.S. Department of Defense. Ford remarked that Trump is about to receive a stark reminder of Canada's leverage in critical mineral supplies. Ford has also confirmed the cancellation of a $100 million contract with Starlink, the satellite internet company owned by Elon Musk. A month prior, Ford had threatened to revoke the deal, but allowed it to proceed after Trump temporarily softened his stance on tariffs. Now that the tariffs have been reinstated, Ford has followed through with the contract termination. "It's done. It's gone," he stated. The Ontario Premier has further accused Trump of intentionally creating economic turmoil through his tariff policies. In response, Ford announced that the LCBO, the province's alcohol retailer, will remove all American-made products from its shelves. The retailer currently generates approximately $1 billion annually from U.S. alcohol sales. Additionally, American companies will be barred from bidding on government contracts in Ontario as part of the province's wider retaliatory strategy. Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston took to social media to issue a scathing critique of President Trump's newly introduced 25% tariffs on Canadian imports. In his statement, Houston condemned Trump as a reckless leader who wields power irresponsibly, disregarding the severe economic consequences for both Canadians and Americans alike. He highlighted the widespread uncertainty and disruption caused by Trump's trade threats and their recent implementation, declaring that Nova Scotia would not sit idle in response. Houston announced a series of immediate countermeasures to push back against U.S. trade penalties. Effective immediately, American companies are prohibited from bidding on Nova Scotia government contracts, and the province is actively exploring ways to nullify existing contracts with U.S.-based firms. Additionally, toll fees for American commercial vehicles crossing the Cobequid Pass have been doubled. The Nova Scotia Liquor Corporation has also been directed to remove all American-made alcoholic beverages from store shelves, a tactic Houston noted has proven effective in prior trade disputes. Furthermore, the province's 2025 to 2026 budget includes a contingency fund specifically allocated to offset the economic impact of U.S. tariffs. Houston assured residents that the provincial government would maintain open communication as the situation develops and as the Canadian federal government finalizes its broader response plan. Beyond these immediate steps, Houston reaffirmed Nova Scotia's long-term commitment to reducing dependence on American markets by strengthening trade within Canada and globally. He urged provinces and territories to pass legislation eliminating internal trade barriers to fortify the Canadian domestic market. Additionally, Nova Scotia is developing a comprehensive trade strategy aimed at assisting local businesses in expanding their global presence, increasing competitiveness, and attracting international investment. Houston also underscored the importance of advancing Nova Scotia's natural resource industries, calling for new projects to enhance economic stability. Expressing his disappointment over the escalation of the trade dispute, Houston remarked that efforts had been made to prevent a repeat of previous tariff confrontations. "We know tariffs hurt people and businesses on both sides of the border. Unfortunately, some individuals need to experience the damage firsthand before they understand," he stated. While acknowledging that Nova Scotia cannot control Trump's actions, Houston emphasized that the province can control its response. He extended his gratitude to Nova Scotians who have taken the initiative to support local and Canadian businesses, opt for domestic travel over trips to the U.S., and back Canadian athletes and teams. He reinforced that these collective actions make a difference and strengthen Canada's resilience. Houston confirmed that Nova Scotia remains committed to working alongside the federal government as it implements countermeasures against the U.S. tariffs. He assured citizens that his administration's primary focus is to safeguard the well-being of hardworking Nova Scotians and their families during these unpredictable times. "We are a government that takes action, and I stand with you," Houston stated. As the trade dispute between Canada and the United States escalates, Houston's strong position signals that Nova Scotia is ready to take decisive steps to protect its economy and workforce. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith also issued a forceful response via social media, condemning President Trump's newly imposed tariffs on Canadian imports as an unjustified economic assault on Canadians and Albertans. She accused the U.S. president of breaching the very trade agreement he had signed during his first term. Smith warned that these tariffs would not only inflict damage on Canada, but would also have severe repercussions for Americans, driving up costs for necessities such as fuel, food, vehicles, and housing. She further cautioned that the tariffs could lead to the loss of hundreds of thousands of jobs across both nations, labeling the policy as irrational and doomed to fail. "This is not how it should be between two of the world's strongest trading partners and allies," she wrote. Smith stressed that Alberta prioritizes collaboration over conflict, stating that the province would much rather work toward mutually beneficial trade agreements than become entangled in a destructive tariff war. Premier Smith reiterated Alberta's unwavering backing of the federal government's response, which was outlined by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau earlier today. She disclosed that her cabinet would convene within the next 24 hours to finalize Alberta's independent countermeasures, with a formal announcement expected the following day. Amid economic uncertainty, Smith called for national solidarity and decisive action. She urged all provinces and territories to eliminate internal trade barriers and accelerate the approval of major resource initiatives, such as pipelines, LNG facilities, and the development of critical minerals. Beyond trade concerns, Smith emphasized the necessity of broadening Alberta's global market connections by strengthening economic ties with Europe, Asia, and the Americas across sectors including energy, agriculture, and manufacturing. Additionally, she underscored the importance of boosting military spending, asserting that Canada must be adequately prepared to safeguard its interests in an increasingly volatile global environment. Let's take a quick moment. If you're enjoying the video, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could support us by hitting the like button. It helps us reach a wider audience, and your feedback in the comments section is invaluable. Thank you for watching. Now let's continue. Smith made it clear that delays in addressing these issues are not an option, promising further details in the upcoming announcement. As tensions between Canada and the United States continue to escalate, Alberta's firm stance highlights its commitment to defending its economic interests and advocating for increased national self-sufficiency. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew has swiftly responded to the tariffs imposed by the U.S., announcing the immediate removal of American alcoholic beverages from all Manitoba liquor marts. In a short but resolute social media statement, Kinew declared, "We are pulling U.S. alcohol from Manitoba liquor mart shelves." Premier Andrew Furey has strongly condemned President Donald Trump's tariff policy, decrying the unjust economic repercussions inflicted on Canada and Newfoundland and Labrador. While acknowledging that the U.S. remains Newfoundland and Labrador's most significant trading partner, Furey emphasized that the province will not passively accept what he described as unlawful and unjust actions by the United States. In direct response, the province will implement the following measures: the immediate removal of U.S. products from Newfoundland and Labrador Liquor Corporation shelves, a comprehensive review aimed at reducing procurement of American goods and services wherever possible, and the expansion of trade partnerships with Europe and other international markets to decrease dependence on the U.S. economy. Fury further stressed the necessity of collaboration with local industries, communities, and labor groups to navigate the economic fallout of this dispute. To that end, the province will establish a dedicated roundtable focused on Canada-U.S. trade relations to develop additional strategic responses. Reaffirming Newfoundland and Labrador's commitment to national solidarity, Fury urged Canadians to remain united against economic aggression. He underscored that the country's core values and sovereignty will serve as a foundation for resilience, stating, "Our identity, our values, and our sovereignty will give us the strength to stand against any bully. We remain the true North, strong and free." The U.S. stock market has suffered severe losses in reaction to President Trump's 25% tariffs, with an estimated $3.6 trillion in market value wiped out, erasing all gains achieved since his re-election. Investors who had previously wagered that Trump would avoid policies detrimental to Wall Street's success are now witnessing one of the most significant market downturns in recent years. The enforcement of tariffs on Canadian, Mexican, and Chinese imports has triggered substantial financial instability in U.S. markets. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plummeted by nearly 800 points, marking a 1.9% decline and reversing all election-related gains. Similarly, the S&P 500 and NASDAQ Composite saw approximately 2% declines, reflecting investor concerns about escalating trade tensions. The tech-heavy NASDAQ Composite officially entered correction territory, suffering a more than 10% drop from its December peak. This sharp decline highlights investor fears regarding the tariffs' potential impact on economic growth and corporate earnings. Industries heavily reliant on international trade, such as automotive manufacturing, home construction, and raw materials, have borne the brunt of the market downturn. Automakers like General Motors and Ford are bracing for major financial losses, estimated at $14 billion and $6 billion respectively. The home construction sector is also expected to encounter higher production costs due to tariffs on essential building materials and finished goods sourced from neighboring countries. As economic uncertainty intensifies, investors have begun shifting toward safer assets, prompting a surge in demand for U.S. Treasury bonds. This trend has driven bond yields lower, signaling growing concerns over potential economic slowdowns rather than inflationary pressures. The tariffs have also provoked swift retaliatory action from affected countries. Canada has imposed a 25% tariff on $30 billion worth of U.S. imports, covering a broad range of consumer products. Meanwhile, Mexico is anticipated to unveil its own countermeasures targeting American goods. These developments have exacerbated market volatility, with the CBOE Volatility Index, VX, reaching its highest levels since late December, reflecting heightened investor anxiety. Economic experts caution that ongoing trade disputes could contribute to rising consumer prices and inflation, potentially affecting multiple sectors of the U.S. economy. The departure from long-standing free trade policies has introduced significant unpredictability into global markets, raising concerns about prolonged economic instability. That's all for this video. Thank you for tuning in. We genuinely appreciate your time and support. If you found our content engaging or thought-provoking, please consider showing your support by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Your engagement helps us grow and continue delivering quality content. You can also check out another one of our videos, now appearing on your screen,